Let's return to This Week in America. Here's your host, Rick Bratton.
Welcome back, everybody, coast to coast, This Week in America. Why are we here? What is our purpose? Who is God? How do we know that God even exists? How was the universe created? What is the role of God in our life? What is the role of light in our life? What began as Bart Barthelemy's revelation as a 5-year-old Catholic student became a noble hypothesis and a lifetime endeavor to see God as light. This question marked the beginning of his spiritual journey, scientific inquiry, and vision for GodLight, possibilities from the intersections of science and spirituality. Dr. Bart is the founding director of the Wright Brothers Institute and president of the Collaborative Innovative Institute. He was the director of the National Aerospace Plane Program when he reported directly to the White House, responsible for the development of the nation's hypersonic aerospace plane. While a member of the Federal Science Executive Service, he served as the technical director for the Air Force, Wright Aeronautical Laboratories at Wright-Patterson Air Force Base in Dayton, Ohio, the Air Force's largest research and development complex. He's been a consultant to a variety of aerospace industry companies and federal government organizations. Dr. Bart's educational background includes a Bachelor of Science in Chemical Engineering from MIT, Master of Science in Nuclear Engineering and Physics from MIT, and Doctor of Philosophy in Nuclear Physics, Mechanical Engineering from The Ohio State University. And Dr. Bart, author of GodLight, Possibilities from the Intersections of Science and Spirituality, is our guest on This Week in America. Dr. Bart, welcome to the program. Great to have you with us.
Well, thank you, Rick. I'm really excited about talking to you about this.
I've been looking forward to this, and if we had 3 or 4 hours, we would really probably get into it. But I tell you, we'll talk for 20 minutes and get people to buy the book because it's so fascinating. It's laid out so well. It's easy to read. The book is GodLight, Possibilities from the Intersections of Science and Spirituality, and I'll give you all that information as we go through the program. I didn't want to give away too much. I touched a little bit at the beginning. What exactly is the premise for GodLight?
Well, the book is about the possibility that the light of God, which we all talk about and we accept as a religious and a spiritual context, is also the light of the universe. That is the light we see, the light that started the universe, the Big Bang. And the book is really about looking at light and God from both the religious or spiritual standpoint and a scientific context. Most religious and spiritual texts, and many of us, I'm sure many of the people that listen to you, Rick, have read the Bible, maybe read the Bible every day, or if not, the Quran or the Old Testament, and it was written 2,000 years ago. But if you look at the Bible, and you don't even have to read it, just look for a couple of words, over and over again, you see light. God is light. Jesus was light. It's the same thing with the Quran, the Hindu text, and Eastern text too. Separately, science over the past 200 years, not 2,000, has really moved tremendously far. And it's proven that light is the basis for the universe. It's what started the universe. The light from the Big Bang, which happened 13.7 billion years ago. Look how precise science has been able to get that. Is still bathing us. There's still the cosmic radiation that started the Big Bang 13.7 years ago. It's still hitting us. And our galaxies, and if you look at the night sky, all you see are little lights. Those are little suns, of course, big suns.
Yes.
They look little to us. And so that light that is bathing us, the sun that actually provides all the energy to the earth, and how life started on the earth, that light is the light of physics. The light of nature, the natural light. And the premise of the book is really, could these two lights be the same? And that's a possibility. I'm not asserting it. I'm not trying to convert anybody. I'm not trying to change anybody's religion. I'm just saying whatever your religion is, you're probably saying God is light. And yet the world around you, the world we lived in, I'm 82 years old, and we've lived this assuming that light is what really keeps us going. So if God is light, could light be God? And so I'll stop there.
Well, the book is, again, so well written and touches on so many topics that we've thought about over the years but never jumped into and really did research or maybe even tried to sort out in our mind. The book is GodLight, Possibilities from the Intersections of Science and Spirituality. The book's author, our guest on the program, Bart Barthelemy, and that's spelled Barthelemy. Everybody calls him Dr. Bart, but on the book you'll find his official name. And his website for the book is GodLight.com. Book available Amazon, Barnes & Noble, all of the usual places, mainspringbooks.com, and we'll have all of that on our website and link you directly to Dr. Bart's website as well. Talk about the significance of the title, because that really sums up exactly what you're talking about in the book, doesn't it?
Yes. Well, as I began looking at the reference to light and all of I studied all of the religions. I'm a Christian. I've always been a Christian, a Catholic actually. But I studied the Quran, and I've studied the Old Testament and the Tibetan Book of the Dead. And the light appears all over the place. And it's generally referred to as God. God is light. And then in my scientific world, I've been a scientist for 60 years. I've been a rocket scientist and a physicist, and I've worked with the NASA folks and all of that. Light is such a common denominator. Starting, with Einstein, who discovered that energy is just mass times the square of light. Look at how unbelievable is it that the most famous equation in the world has light in it, okay? And then, if you look around and just think for a moment, if you look at the sun and how without the sun, without that light, we wouldn't exist. The planet wouldn't exist. We wouldn't be, a human being, and we wouldn't grow. And I'll tell you something more anecdotal. I go to Key West, Florida, about 3 times a year, and I go to the southernmost point, and there's always several hundred people that watch the sun come up in the east in the morning, and then the sun go down in the west in the evening.
Yes.
And it's a spiritual experience. It really is, and it's simply the sun. So light is all around us, and I thought, gosh, there's got to be a connection here. Maybe God is telling us something, that as you look up, there's light, and we all come from light, all the way back to the evolution of human beings. So that the God light is the mixture, and I actually make the L in God light capital, so it's God capital Light. And I think it signifies that God is light, and light is God. At least that's what I'm looking into, and the book looks into that.
Who's the audience for this book? Who was this designed for?
Well, frankly, it was designed for me. At 80 years old, it was my kind of revelation to myself. You know how sometimes when you're about to fall asleep, you think, "Oh my gosh, what's all this about?
Yes.
What's this all about?" It hit me like I'm living 2 worlds, 2 lives. I'm living my, spiritual or religious life, which I take very seriously. And I've lived all my life, 60 years as a physicist and a scientist. And they're separate. We talk of one and we kind of ignore the other one, and we talk of the other, and vice versa. So I thought to myself, I got to clear this up. And so I studied for 2 years, wrote the book, and it really was a revelation to me. I'm so much more at peace. I can look at anybody now, even you that I can't see, and see light. And I'm thinking, I'm light too, and I can relate. I know we're supposed to all see ourselves as brothers, in the universe, but this takes it one level more. And so it's really helped me. And I guess the real answer to your question, Rick, is that if anyone ever thinks, and sometimes this happens, in the morning and at night, like, oh my gosh, like at Key West, is what's the connection between these two lights? The book really, I think, helps with that. And it's not a very complex book, as you said. I mean, I do talk about the Big Bang and evolution and, Einstein stuff, but not from a heavy science standpoint. I suspect anybody who reads the book has already, heard words like the Big Bang, or EMP equals MC squared.
Yeah, it's not really a deep dive into science where you need a degree in science before you understand. That's not the case at all. It's very understandable. And again, answers a lot of questions that consciously or subconsciously we've probably faced during the course of our lives. This book, by writing it, has helped you. How do you think this book can help the general public, a reader? How will this book help them, do you think?
Yeah, well, I think they whatever their spirituality, and even if they're atheist or agnostic, they nevertheless are looking at the world around them. Things happen. People die, but we talk about heaven. People are born, and the little baby comes out, and everybody loves it because they see the light of God in that. And yet, those are real things. Those are things you can touch. As a physicist, you can't touch all of the stars and the evolution, but we know it's there. We've talked about it. I think it's well understood now that there was a Big Bang, and that started everything, and our sun is the result of that. There was evolution. Most of the religions who fought, evolution really now accept it. I know the Catholic Church accepts it too. How in the world did this happen? Why did some cells that started, actually grow into human beings, and then we evolved? So I think the average reader, I really think that this book is for the curious reader. A reader who was asked questions of themselves, or maybe sought questions. And I even like Jimmy Buffett's song when the guy goes to Paris to answer the most difficult questions in the world.
Yes.
I think we all do that. Okay, we all ask ourselves, what's this all about? And it can't be two different theories or two different themes. Religion and science, spirituality and science, have to connect. I mean, it can't not be that way. Now, I'm proposing that the connection, like the common denominator, is light. And it's helped me, and I think it would help other people because they would begin to see everything as light. And I really hope it leads to collaboration and, more understanding and mutuality.
The book is GodLight, Possibilities from the Intersections of Science and Spirituality. The author is our guest on the program, Bart Barthelemy. That's Barthelemy. Book available Amazon, the usual places, Barnes & Noble, MainspringBooks.com, and the website GodlightSite.com. And we'll have all this on our website, thisweekinamerica.us. What type of research did you have to do? Probably answers to some of these just in your knowledge base over decades of working in science. But how much research did you have to do?
I did about a year of research, and I read as much as I could, all of the different spiritual texts. Now, obviously, the Bible, I've read that or I've heard that, in going to services. But I had to read the Old Testament, and I had to read the Quran and English version of it, and then also I even read the Tibetan Book of the Dead, and it talks about God as light. So that took me quite a bit of time. Now, on the science side, yes, I've been a scientist all my life, but like anything, you learn things to 60. I went to MIT 60 years ago. I was there when the guy who actually invented the theory of the Big Bang was there too, Alan Guth, and I've studied under some of the Nobel laureates, but I had to refresh myself. So honest to God, I took another 2 months in going back to all of not the text so much, but now the new versions of, the publications of these scientists. And I tried to capture the latest thinking, the latest stuff about the evolution and all of that. So it took me about a year, to prepare myself for it, even though I had inklings of all of it, obviously.
As you're reading this, you think, boy, this would make a powerful movie, a documentary, a visual product of some kind. There's so much here to get into. Any talk about doing that?
Oh, well, yeah, I need to get in connection with a screenwriter, of course, because the book is not written for a screenwrite.
Right.
But I'm going to do that. I've actually promised myself. I can't do it. I'm not a screenwriter. But if you know any good ones, please let me know. But I would love to have a movie, and I think it would be somewhat popular. It would have to, appeal to the crowd. And honestly, I have fantasies of the two stars being Oprah Winfrey and Tom Hanks. Okay, and I don't care who plays me. Oprah would be fine. Okay.
You got to think big, and I like that. And I wish you the best with that in bringing this to the screen. But it's available now in a book for all of us to read and to learn from. GodLight, Possibilities from the Intersections of Science and Spirituality. If somebody is just joining us, they're listening, could you sum up in 3, 4, 5 sentences the essence of the book? Yeah.
Well, these are short sentences, and by the way, the book is not long thematic kind of a book. So my 3 sentences are simply, God is light, and I think most people, that's one. Light is God, and that's going to be maybe a question mark, okay, because there's light all God. And then, if so, GodLight. So 3 simple sentences. God is light, light is God, And if so, GodLight.
And thus the title of the book, GodLight. That's G-O-D, capital, uppercase, L for light, GodLight. The book available, again, wherever books are sold, and the book is receiving excellent reviews. Talk a little bit about what you're working on now. You've answered all of these questions. Are there other questions that you've had in your mind you're thinking, okay, I'd like to tackle these now?
Yeah, I really don't want to make money off this book. That was never the thought. And so I promise everybody, if they bought this book from Amazon, it's about $12 or some other store, I will buy another book and give it to someone who can't afford it. I just want the word to get out, and not because I'm trying to convert anybody. I'm just trying to have people think about it, and this is kind of one basis for thinking about it. There's many others too, but my real goal is to just have people think about this, and the book is a kind of a catalyst for that to happen. So what I'm working on now is, how do I get it out? And again, it's not about money whatsoever. If I were a billionaire, I'd buy 1 million copies of this book and just place them all over the place. But so I'm working now with a number of people who are trying to get the essence of the book out. And it's great if you buy the book. And there's a little version of it, a Kindle version that's only like $2. So there's a lot of places to go to get the book. But still, my goal is to get. I'm going to the LA Times Book Festival in April. Yeah, and I'll be there. I'll have a bunch of books. I'll be signing books. There's some publicity around that. And again, it's not to make money. I really want to get that across. I'm going to use all the money that comes in to buy more books. I have more books printed and give them away. And I don't want to force my book on anybody. I certainly don't want to do that. But that's my next big attack. My next big theme. So starting in April, I'm going to spend the next year, trying to get it out, trying to get the information out in any way that I can.
Well, we appreciate you taking time to be with us. We've got a few minutes left in the program. I want to take that word spirituality, because if you ask 10 people, you may get 10 different definitions of exactly what that is. What is spirituality?
Well, to me, it's sort of the higher level where all the religions fit into. I know lately, particularly in the press, people are called spiritual because they're kind of not religious, but yet they connect to God. There are all kinds of groups. But frankly, it's all about, all religions are about spirituality. I mean, in my own religion, I think it's true for many other religions too. God is the spirit. God is the thing, or whatever you want to, look at, that gives us that kind of life and the hope of what happens after life. And I think that's really what spirituality is about. So it doesn't exclude religions. Religions are a part of spirituality. And yet today, I think they try to separate it. But we're all spiritual. Whether we are atheists or agnostic, we're still spiritual. It's like, hey, what's going on there? And certainly the major religions, particularly in the United States, are all about spirituality. So I don't look at that as different than religions. I look at it as kind of like the big bucket, that all religions fit. Everybody asks themselves, is there spirituality out there? And I think the answer is, of course.
You realize in reading GodLight, there are a lot of commonalities. You mentioned the study of various religions all around the world and drawing all that together, all of the human beings, people all over the world. Do you hope the future could be better than the past? Maybe this book being part of it.
That's my goal. That's my hope. I hope that this actually gets people to look at each other from the viewpoint of light. And I've been doing that, actually. I run into people now when I look at them as light, and I can relate to them immediately. So we need more common ground. My gosh, here we are, 10 billion people fighting each other. We need more common ground. And the common ground in my thinking is GodLight. GodLight all over the place. You GodLight, me GodLight, and I think that, I don't think it's the only thing that'll work, but I think it would be wonderful if we started to look at each other as not just brothers, but we all are the same. We all come from light. And so that's the mother or the father, how you want to deal with it. So I really hope that happens. That's my goal. That's why I want people to read it. It's just to maybe trigger something that allows them to be more open, more generous, more, curious, or more, sort of relatable to each other.
Talk about curious. You are still active in all that you're doing. You're working now in the nation's hypersonic aerospace plane. Did you have any idea when you started this illustrious career that we'd come this far in terms of science and what we're able to do? Talking now about getting ready to put humans on Mars. Did you have any idea what the potential was when you started this?
Oh, no. I went to MIT in the 60s, 50s, the late 50s, 60s. But, John F. Kennedy was the president as I graduated, and he says, let's put a man on the moon. And I thought, wow, that is so cool. That's why my whole career has been in the government and science. But I really think as we proceed, we're going to know more. I mean, the DNA research is still blossoming. We're going to know a lot more. I don't know where we'll be, but boy, have we come a long way in 200 years, just from, early before Einstein. And I never thought we'd be this far, but it's really moving at an exponential rate. I mean, just look at the phones, it's like, wow, yes. Are we moving far? So I don't think any of us in those days, we didn't have computers when I went to MIT, honest to God. We didn't have a computer, so all my work was by hand, slide rules and stuff. So we have come so far. Now, I don't think anybody, maybe there were some, they could have predicted that, but, there were the brilliant people like Alan Guth and Wiener and all of that. I'm not in that category, but they showed us the way. So it's wonderful.
Talk about perseverance, and we've got a couple minutes left here, but I go to the Kennedy Space Center and I go through the various exhibits there, and I see what happened in the beginning of the space program, which I watched, but I got it through Walter Cronkite as I was growing up, and you see that, and you see all of the failures and how long it took and the perseverance it took to, okay, this didn't work, we get everybody together again and we figure it out. Talk about that aspect of it, because it's not like you've got an idea and it works right away in most cases, is it?
Yeah, it never does. I've been a big collaborative innovator. I've written a book on collaborative innovation and president of the Collaborative Innovation Institute. Yeah, it never works that way. It's us humans, we're not God. Okay, so we have to try things, and ones that work, and science is all about that. The ones that work are become scientific theories. The ones that don't, we learn from. It's not like, oh my gosh, we made this terrible thing, and we learn from those. I mean, the history of like the discovery of DNA, the history of like you say, the spaceships. Look what the new spaceships are. They are smaller and they're so much easier. It shows us that what we thought back then, those gigantic, rockets, and that we still enjoy seeing go up, that was just the beginning. So we got a long way to go. But my gosh, the pace of what we know has been exponential. I hope I live about another 100 years. I won't, but I'm going to try, because I really think this whole idea of GodLight will actually be proven. I truly do.
Well, it's such a wonderful book, and the time has gone by way too quickly. The book is available wherever books are sold: Amazon, Barnes & Noble, MainspringBooks.com. You'll get information on Dr. Bart's website, which is GodLight site, SITE.com. The book is GodLight, Possibilities from the Intersections of Science and Spirituality. The author is our guest on the program, Bart Barthelemy. That's Barthelemy, Barthelemy. And the book's available, of course, information you can link on directly by going to our website. Dr. Bart, it went by way too quickly. Hopefully we can do this again. Great having you with us on the program. Thank you for being with us, and look forward to having future conversations.
Thank you, Rick, and thank you for all the wonderful work you've been doing with St. Jude's and all of those other organizations.
Well, you're welcome, and I appreciate the kind words, and appreciate you spending some time with us. All that you've done in this book answers so many questions for so many people, and it's available, again, wherever books are sold. You're listening to This Week in America, and we're back on today's program right after these messages.
This Week in America is online. You can visit our website, thisweekinamerica.us. Scott Pinkerton, associate producer of This Week in America. Jay Anderson, segment producer. Ben Watson, webmaster. Otto Bechet, director of engineering and TV production. This Week in America produced and is a trademark of Blue Funk Broadcasting, LLC. For information on all of our guests and to listen to this week's show, our website again at thisweekinamerica.us. And I'm Sean Bratton, executive producer of This Week in America.